A strange situation takes place following AEW Dynamite last night, whereby several Ring of Honor matches were taped despite the fact that ROH is usually taped after Collision on Saturdays. Furthermore, some of the talent that competed in Ring of Honor last night are the very same names that have recently been banned from being backstage or appearing on AEW Collision shows. Details on that, plus Will Ospreay versus Chris Jericho is now official for AEW All In at London's Wembley Stadium. Speaking of matches that are official, Kenny Omega, his trios match is confirmed as he'll be teaming up with Kota Ibushi and Hangman Adam Page at London's Wembley Stadium. Stadium Stampede is also now official for All In. MJF and Adam Cole go face-to-face last night on Dynamite ahead of their big World Championship main event, as well as their tag team title pre-show match at AEW All In. Jeff Jarrett wins the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Deathmatch, which some are describing as the worst match in AEW history. Jack Perry says he is going to retire the FTW World Championship next week. The Women's Championship field is set for AEW All In. House of Black make a surprise appearance last night on Dynamite, attacking the Acclaimed. Orange Cassidy retains the AEW International Championship, and Roosh reportedly wanted AEW stars to appear with him at AAA's recent event. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Let's start off talking about this strange incident and bizarre situation following last night's AEW Dynamite tapings. Now, for AEW fans in Nashville, Tennessee, it was a long night on August 16, thanks to AEW Dynamite, AEW Rampage, and Ring of Honor matches all being taped. Now, this is quite peculiar because typically Ring of Honor matches are taped on the same day as AEW Collision, but this time there were some that were taped on Wednesday evening. Now, the ROH tapings were notable as they featured a number of people who have come up recently as names who are essentially not allowed to be present at AEW Collision tapings due to issues with CM Punk. This includes the likes of Ryan Nemeth, Christopher Daniels, Brandon Cutler, as well as Colt Cabana. Now, Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez discussed the rationale behind the decision on Wrestling Observer Radio. Meltzer said, quote, "This is bizarre. I don't know what's going on because Ring of Honor is usually taped on Saturdays with Collision. They taped Ring of Honor tonight after Dynamite. I don't know why. We have a Collision taping this Saturday. I guess maybe it's to get ahead because the next week there's not going to be any time because there's no Saturday taping. So maybe they were just trying to get ahead. I get that." On the taping, Ryan Nemeth wrestled. The main event was Zack Sabre Jr. against Christopher Daniels. Colt Cabana appeared as the second for Brandon Cutler. He's doing a thing where him and Brandon Cutler are together as a unit. All of these guys are never going to be on Ring of Honor again. They're introducing all these guys. Colt Cabana ain't going on. I guess they could do that, tape some Ring of Honor stuff on Wednesdays regularly, but that makes it even more bizarre. All of those guys, wasn't there someone else too? It was Brandon Cutler, Christopher Daniels, Colt Cabana, Zack Sabre. Just weird, just really weird, especially Ryan Nemeth. Blake Christian beat Brandon Cutler, but Colt Cabana was out with Brandon Cutler, which is the first time Colt Cabana had been an agent for Ring of Honor, and then he was pulled from being an agent for Ring of Honor on June 17 because of everyone knew it was going to happen. So he had to be an agent on Dynamite. So they're taping Ring of Honor, and he's on the taping doing a comedy bit with Brandon Cutler. So it's weird to say the least because, again, none of these people are allowed to work Saturdays. So why are they being on Ring of Honor when they're not going to be back? Brian Alvarez said, quote, "Maybe their matches will always be taped on Wednesdays. The people who have had collisions with Punk have been banned from Collision, and the rest of Ring of Honor will be taped on Saturday." Meltzer said, quote, "That makes a long night on Wednesdays because they're already taping Rampage in 2 hours of Dynamite. So I get adding Ring of Honor this week because, again, there's no Collision taping next Saturday because of All In. So they do have to tape ahead. But the idea of taping Ring of Honor on a Wednesday as a regular rule, that doesn't make sense. That's what Saturdays are for. It's to tape Ring of Honor because there's no other third hour of production there, where there already is on Wednesdays. So I guess we'll have to wait and see after England how this all plays out. Everything before England is obviously going to get as much content as possible because they don't have that one taping, because next week there's going to be no Ring of Honor tapings at all in theory because they're taping next week in Duluth, Georgia. They're going to go live with Dynamite, then they're going to be taping Rampage, and then Collision. So it's a 5-hour show, so there's going to be no time for Ring of Honor next week. So I get them taping Ring of Honor this week. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see and watch how this all plays out. So what are your thoughts on this? Is just a case of, again, AEW getting ahead of things because, as they mentioned, there's going to be no tapings next week. But is it odd that some of the people featured are never going to be featured on Ring of Honor television again? Is it a big deal or isn't it a big deal? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments section below. Now, the match had been heavily rumored, but now it is official. Will Ospreay is back in All Elite Wrestling, and he's set to face off against Chris Jericho in his home country. Will Ospreay may have not been successful in his bid to win the New Japan Pro Wrestling G1 Climax tournament, but the United Empire leader made his mark on Wednesday's AEW Dynamite. In the middle of a convoluted dissolution of the relationship between Don Callis and Chris Jericho, Ospreay attacked the former AEW World Champion, apparently at the behest of Callis, drawing Jericho's blood. Later in the episode, Jericho was shown backstage, apoplectic over the attack. Smearing his own blood into his mouth, Jericho promised to drink Ospreay's blood at Wembley Stadium, challenging the IWGP UK Heavyweight Champion to a match at All In, which was later officially announced. The match will mark the first time that the two wrestlers have ever faced off, with Jericho hyping it as a showdown between two of the best at the historic event on August 27. Ospreay's United Empire compatriots, Aussie Open, will also be in action at All In, defending their Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships against Adam Cole and AEW World Champion MJF on the 0-hour pre-show. Now, as you can expect, the reaction to this one has been mixed. Some thinking it's a waste of Ospreay appearing at All In and that he's going to have to do his very best to get a match out of Chris Jericho. What are your thoughts on this? Are you excited to see it? Aren't you excited to see it? Do you think it's a waste of what's been described as the biggest event in wrestling history? Or are you all in on this match? Let me know your thoughts about that too. Speaking of matches at All In, it's now confirmed Kenny Omega will not be competing in singles action. He will be in a trios match. Hangman Adam Page, Kenny Omega, and Kota Ibushi will be squaring off with Konosuke Takeshita and members of Bullet Club Gold at All In. Jim Ross's sit-down interview with Omega was shown during Wednesday's edition of Dynamite. Omega was reflecting on his history of Don Callis and when he was interrupted and taunted by the man himself. Callis quickly revealed that he didn't come alone as Bullet Club Gold's Jay White and Juice Robinson blindsided Omega. Ross watched on with a horrified look in his eyes as White cracked a steel pipe across Omega's spine and sent him crashing into the nearby garage door. Takeshita then joined in and hit Omega with a plank of wood as Callis continued to berate his former friend. Later, comments from Hangman Adam Page aired on Dynamite. He was shown waiting outside of the hospital where Omega was being checked on. Page informed Callis and his family that Omega had some backup himself and Kota Ibushi. He challenged Takeshita, White, and Robinson to a trios match at the All In pay-per-view, telling them that the beatdown they started will be finished in London. Now, although Omega and Callis have known each other through their connections in their hometown of Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, the recent issues between the pair didn't arise until Callis turned on Omega in May and more recently recruited Takeshita by his side. What are your thoughts on this match announcement? But more importantly, what are your thoughts on, again, the biggest event in pro wrestling history, not featuring a singles match, featuring Kenny Omega? Is that a waste, or is this a match that you're happy to see at All In? Let me know your thoughts about that. The Stadium Stampede will also be returning at AEW All In London. Fresh off his violent delights in the 33rd G1 Climax, Eddie Kingston has returned to All Elite Wrestling. Kingston made his shocking return on last night's AEW Dynamite, running out to aid Death Triangle's Rey Fenix and Penta El Zero Miedo and the Best Friends in their battle with the Blackpool Combat Club in a brawl that followed Orange Cassidy's successful retention of the AEW International Championship. We'll talk about that in a bit later on. Kingston not only assisted in driving away Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and his former friend John Moxley, but challenged the men to find more partners and meet at All In Wembley Stadium, which will host the third ever Stadium Stampede match. Now, Stadium Stampede headlined both Double or Nothing events in 2020 and 2021. Both matches involved the Inner Circle, who lost the first Stadium Stampede match to the Elite and Matt Hardy, and then won the second Stadium Stampede match against the Pinnacle in 2021. All In will also mark the first time that Stadium Stampede won't be taking place at the TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville, Florida. So that match, again, is going to be set to take place at AEW All In. Let's talk about the AEW World Championship main event, because MJF and Adam Cole faced off last night on Dynamite. Of course, it was Special Fight for the Fallen episode of Dynamite as well. MJF and Adam Cole came face to face in the ring last night to trade stories regarding their roads to AEW All In at London's Wembley Stadium. Adam Cole kicked off the segment detailing that while he was out of action injured, he didn't know if he was ever going to be able to return to the ring. Now that he is headed to the main event at the biggest professional wrestling event in history, he feels that he finally is within one step of his goal, and that is to win the AEW World Championship. Adam Cole told MJF that while what he was saying was out of love, but as soon as the bell rings at All In, he'll do anything and everything to win the AEW World title. Taking his own turn on the mic and borrowing the bit, MJF asked the Nashville crowd who was ready for story time with MJF, baby. Pledging it was the absolute truth, MJF said he wrote down 2 names on his first day at the Creator Pro Wrestling Academy as his dream opponents, Cody Rhodes and Adam Cole. MJF told the story of how he DM'd Cody Rhodes after hearing about the original All In 2018, and after some time heard back and was able to get a match on the card, saying that if there was no All In, there is no MJF now in 2023. He's grown up in front of fans' very eyes and has become the AEW World Champion. And it all comes to a head at AEW's biggest show ever, and one that will surpass any WWE show's attendance. He will be the main event against one of his first 2 dream opponents. While the exchange ended entirely respectfully, but still pretty heated between MJF and Adam Cole, the mutual respect was quickly interrupted by a run-in from their AEW All-In pre-show opponents, that being Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions Aussie Open, with MJF and Adam Cole threatening a double clothesline and subsequently a kangaroo kick from MJF. Aussie Open escaped. But an intriguing moment at the end of the segment, Adam Cole certainly appeared to be priming for a big kick to MJF's face, but alas did not follow through with the idea. The Brochachos eventually hugged it out in the ring before continuing up the ramp together on their way to AEW All In at London's Wembley Stadium. Now, they also had a segment on the show that featured a bizarre appearance from none other than the AEW president himself, Tony Khan. Amid the copious internet chatter regarding his management style, Tony Khan popped up in a pre-tape segment on last night's AEW Dynamite. While his appearance was partly amusing, it was also a little strange, first featuring behind a closed door with his name sign on it, shouting at MJF and Adam Cole. After MJF and Cole left the office, clearly having been taken to task, the defiant MJF noted that Khan would regret that exchange in 2024 contract season, to which Khan, clad in his signature dark sunglasses, popped out from behind the closed door. Being shown for the first time, he demanded to know what MJF just said, but when MJF stammered in his response, Khan took off his glasses and transformed into an alternate persona, revealing a warm smile and giving the pair a thumbs up as well as a fist bump. The pleasant version of Khan was grateful, thanking MJF and Adam Cole for their great work before shutting the door behind him. Elsewhere in the vignette, Adam Cole and MJF did recon on their AEW All-In opponents, Aussie Open, by visiting an Outback steakhouse and checking out some videos of kangaroos. This would lead to MJF having the idea of a kangaroo kick finisher to accompany the duo's double clothesline, which can be seen during the broadcast. What did you make of Tony Khan's appearance? Was it odd? Was it awkward? Let me know your thoughts about that as well. Now, this may be, some are describing it as the worst match in AEW history. Yes, again, this is what people are calling it. It's absolutely incredible, really. So AEW's Texas Chainsaw Massacre between Jeff Hardy and Jeff Jarrett started with Hardy picking a weapon off the wall in a darkened Bridgestone Arena hallway, and it wasn't long until Matt Hardy dumped fake blood on the heads of Jeff and Karen Jarrett, with Ethan Page and Brothers A stunted on them. Yes, again, this was a real thing. In other words, it was ridiculous. Now, some would say, did you expect anything else? They brawled through the red light bowels of the building in Nashville during a commercial, with Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh and Sonjay Dutt getting involved for Double J along the way. We eventually got it into the ring where there was already plenty of plunder, putting Jarrett through a table with a swanton bomb, had Hardy poised for victory, but that was when Leatherface, yes, Leatherface showed up as Jarrett promised. But he wasn't there to help the WWE Hall of Famer. No, he was not. Leatherface took out Dutt with a boot to the midsection, then chased off Mrs. Jarrett. The distraction allowed Lethal to hit Hardy with a hammer, though, a chokeslam from Singh, and they were able to pull Double J onto the other Jeff for a pinfall victory. They weren't lying about Leatherface, and they weren't lying about this being a championship match, and it's got Leatherface's face right on it. This wasn't for everyone, but if you've got a space in your heart for dumb fun, it had a lot of that, and people enjoyed the bout. What did you think of this match? What did you think of the entire gimmick? Is this hypocritical that some criticized WWE for their use of zombies at Backlash several years ago, when AEW is now doing the same thing when it comes to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Deathmatch? Is it just a case of promotion? Promotion's good and it gives you money? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section below. Really interested to know what you guys think about it. Jack Perry said he's going to retire the FTW Championship next week. During last night's special episode of AEW Dynamite Fight for the Fallen, Jack Perry declared that he will retire the FTW Championship on next week's episode. Perry has held the title since he dethroned Hook on July 19th episode of Dynamite. He won by hitting Hook with the title while the referee's back was turned. It marked two things: Perry's first singles title win in AEW and the first loss of Hook's character. Perry successfully defended it against Rob Van Dam on last week's episode of Dynamite. Of course, Taz introduced the FTW Championship in the late 1990s while he was in Extreme Championship Wrestling. Another cornerstone of ECW, Sabu, also held the title during that era. After more than a 20-year hiatus, Taz revived the title in AEW in July 2020 and presented it to Brian Cage. Ricky Starks later defeated Cage for the title. Starks lost it to Hook in July of 2022. So where do you think this one's going? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below, as always. The Women's Championship match is now set and official. The lineup is complete for AEW All In. During Wednesday's AEW Dynamite Fight for the Fallen, Britt Baker defeated the Bunny to secure the final spot in the four-way match for the AEW Women's World Championship in London, joining Toni Storm, Saraya, and title holder Hikaru Shida. Penelope Ford tried to lend a hand to the Bunny when she hopped on the apron and grabbed Baker's glove from her hand as she set up for a lockjaw submission. However, Baker sent Ford crashing to the floor and landed a curb stomp on the Bunny for the 3 counts. Storm, of course, had earned a bye in the upcoming pay-per-view match, having been the one who was dethroned by the champion Shida using her rematch clause. Her outcast stablemate Saraya defeated Sky Blue this past Friday on Rampage to be added to the bouts. Baker, of course, is a former AEW Women's World Champion, winning the bout at Double or Nothing in 2021 and having an impressive reign of 290 days. Storm and Shida are both 2-time title holders, while Saraya has yet to win a title in the company, but is both a former 2-time Divas champion and also a former NXT Women's Champion in WWE. Now, last night we saw a surprise appearance from the House of Black on Dynamite. Surprising because usually they only appear on AEW Collision, particularly considering Malachi Black only a few weeks ago said he requested to only appear on Collision. Nevertheless, ahead of a tag team match featuring The Acclaim, the lights went out on Dynamite, and when they came back on, the House of Black had appeared. Since the beginning of AEW Collision, the House of Black has remained a Saturday attraction only, but they popped up last night to beat down The Acclaimed and take the boots that were left behind by Billy Gunn upon his apparent retirement. Malachi Black had said on Bobby Fish's podcast recently that he had requested for the House of Black to be on Collision only, but that streak came to an end last night. The House of Black weren't the only AEW Collision regulars that were on Dynamite last night, as FTR was once again on Wednesday this week, which again would make sense considering they're building up to their match against the Young Bucks at AEW All In, so that was why there. But certainly looks like we are going to be building up to some kind of Trios Championship match and maybe the return of Billy Gunn. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Orange Cassidy, we kind of hinted at this earlier, is still the AEW International Champion after successfully once again retaining the title last night on Dynamite. During Wednesday night's special edition of Dynamite Fight for the Fallen, Orange Cassidy successfully defended his AEW International Championship against Blackpool Combat Club member Wheeler Yuta. The hard-fought win marks Cassidy's 29th consecutive successful title defense. Cassidy has held the AEW International Championship since defeating Pac on the October 12, 2022 episode of Dynamite. After the match, as I mentioned, the other healthy Blackpool Combat Club members, Claudio Castagnoli and John Moxley, attacked Cassidy, who was aided by the Best Friends, the Lucha Brothers, and finally a returning Eddie Kingston. Of course, this is when the Stadium Stampede match was then officially challenged. Finally, a bit of an update when it comes to Roosh and AAA. Triple Mania finally wrapped up this past Saturday with the third and final show of Lucha Libre's AAA's 3-part extravaganza, which saw Sam Adonis get his head shaved after a 4-way match featuring Psycho Clown, LA Park, and AEW's Roosh. But Roosh wasn't alone on Saturday night in Mexico City, being accompanied to the ring by his father, Bester Del Ring, brother Dralistico, and fellow AEW stars La Faction Ingobernables, Preston Vance, and Jose the Assistant. The appearances of Roosh's stablemates appear to have been at the request of and behest of the AEW star. House of Wrestling reports that Dralistico and Bester Del Ring were the only ones originally earmarked to accompany Roosh to the ring, and that Roosh requested Vance and Jose accompany him as well. Roosh was said to have gone as far to request that AEW owner Tony Khan wanted Vance and Jose in Roosh's corner, something that confused the AAA higher-ups, who hadn't requested Vance and Jose appear at the event. The request by Roosh was said to have caused tension between him and AAA, adding to what has already been a roller coaster year between the two sides. 2023 has already seen Roosh and AAA part ways, only to work together again. In addition, there was also said to be tension between LA Park and Konnan, AAA's booker, over the four-way match. While it's unclear what the issues between Park and Konnan were, the two have had a long history of each other back from their time in AAA over the years and from working together in WCW back in the 90s when Park wrestled as La Parka. But this is when it gets a bit more strange as well. While neither Vance nor Khan have commented on the matter as of yet, two others have already denied the report. Jose, the assistant, was first taken to Twitter to call the report bullshit and also claiming the story was just done for clicks. He would reiterate his beliefs in a follow-up tweet saying he and Roosh knew the real story. Not long after, Roosh would take to Twitter himself to likewise deny the events laid out by House of Wrestling. The AEW star said that Vance and Jose had accompanied him to the ring because he wanted them to, and that AAA, including the Vice President Duran Roldan, knew that he would be at the show in advance. Roosh would also further claim that Roldan welcomed Vance and Jose warmly and even provided tickets for the guests the two men brought with them. Roosh ended the tweet by demanding that the story be retracted. House of Wrestling thinks Houseman has responded to the denial, saying he stands by his story and that if Dorian knew they were coming and would be involved in the match, that's not something that would have been known to many people in AAA that were in and around the match until the day of the show. So a lot of confusion and kind of messiness when it comes to that there as well. But there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.